Hello and welcome to Bold Women Lawyers LinkedIn Spotlight. I am very excited today. We have a great guest, somebody that I have known for a very, very long time, Chris Mullins. And Chris is going to talk all about intakes and processes that lawyers need to know, need to have in place, and really need to be doing very efficiently and effectively to get great clients. So I'm very excited to have her with us. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chris. And I love what she said. She says, lawyers often confuse their professional skills with the skills they need to connect with potential new clients and clients, plus embrace the mindsets needed to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, and ever-changing profession, which is completely true. Chris is a preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry. And I think that's really important, Chris, that you focus on the legal industry. And she helps lawyers understand the difference between your professional skills and the skills that you need to connect with your clients. She was known for decades and is still known as the phone sales doctor. She has a terrific program, and I know this because my team and I went through it when I had my solo practice. So she also, as if she wasn't busy enough, she now hosts Lawyers Tell All podcast, where she takes you on a deep dive talking to lawyers so that you can learn about the reality of the profession, which is not what you see on TV. And Chris, you are 100,000% right. It is not what you see on TV. So welcome. It's really great to have you here. And I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us about how lawyers could be better at their intakes. But I have a question before we even get started on that, which is just the basic question of how did you ever get into this to begin with?
Well, 30 years ago, I worked in corporate America. I actually worked in the newspaper business and did quite well in it, worked in call centers, became inside sales and then outside sales and then publisher of 21 newspapers. And I did a lot of speaking and writing for the newspaper industry. And then one day I just said, you know what? People are calling me to get help. And so I'll just start my own business. So I did it the way you're not supposed to do it. I just did it cold turkey and didn't really have a plan. And was doing consulting for any kind of business like Blue Cross Blue Shield and hospitals, doing training and sales and communications. And then I went to a mastermind and met some lawyers, and they wanted what I taught. And then I just stuck with it. I just stayed with the legal industry and became an expert in that area.
Exactly. I think that is exactly where you and I first met, I believe, is that with that mastermind group.
Right.
So, well, we lawyers are very thankful that you did that because it is an area where I know myself, when I first started my law firm, I had trouble letting go of it. And by that, I mean, you know, I had worked this up. I knew what I wanted to say. I knew everything that I wanted to do to try to vet potential new clients and et cetera. And at that time, I couldn't imagine anybody but me doing it. But then I realized pretty quickly, like if I wanted to stay in business, I better find other people to do it because I had other things that I needed to be getting done. So if we can, Chris, let's kind of start there. Give us your thoughts about, you know, for the lawyers that are listening saying, you know, it's my name, it's my business, it's my reputation. I really feel like I should be the one doing the work, doing the intake, being face-to-face with the client or the potential client.
Well, as you know, you're not alone. Most attorneys feel that way. Actually, you know, business owners in general.
Yeah.
So even in my own business, I knew that I wouldn't be able to scale if I didn't have more coaches. And I waited a really long time for the same reasons to do it, because it's my name, it's my business. How can they possibly do what I do? And, people know my name, and who's going to know Mary Smith? So I finally got over it, and I took 6 months and did some really intensive training, and got a group of coaches together. But I understand the mindset of, they're not going to do it the same way. The thing is, Sharon's right. I mean, you're not going to be able to grow. You're not going to be able to scale if you don't do it. And it's not hard to teach somebody to do it. It just takes a little bit of dedication and a little bit of time. And you might have to go through a couple of people, but just embrace that and accept the fact that you're trying to build a team and you want the right people, and just begin.
So I love what you said. They won't do it the same way, which is true. And you know what I found? They ultimately did it better than us.
I was going to say they probably did it better.
They absolutely, as much as I like to think like I'm the best at this, they absolutely did. And the team and the people that you get, that you hire, that you use to do the intake, the one thing I learned too, the hard way, was, when you're looking for people, look for personality, look for client or customer facing experience. Didn't have to be in a law firm. One of my best intake team members came to us from a bank. She was a bank teller. And, over time, we trained her to do different things, including the intakes. And it had nothing to do, her expertise and how well she did in that role had nothing to do with her knowledge of a law firm and how a law firm works. Yeah, it had everything to do with how she related to somebody else over the phone.
Right.
So if, people are listening and they're saying, oh, yeah, you're right. I have some issues. I need some help with intake. Whoops. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm not the. I'm not a tech. I'm not a tech.
It could be worse. You could have said something else. It could be a lot worse. I'm still here.
So when you're looking at it around at your firm and you say, okay, I need help with this. I've got to figure out how to get these intakes done efficiently, but in the way that I would like to see them done. Where does somebody start?
Yeah. So a couple of things. The first thing is it kind of like what you were saying, Sharon, you don't have to hire a salesperson. You don't have to hire somebody that works at a law firm. The most important thing is to hire for attitude. Hire for attitude. You can teach skill. Okay. So hire for attitude. Make sure that you do your due diligence with looking for people and interviewing them, and check references. Don't cut any corners, and just, teach them and give them tests, predictive indexing tests and disc tests, and find out if they're the right individual. But, don't get all caught up in they got to have a background in legal or sales. If they do have a sales background, that's great. But I like the idea of hiring for attitude, because you can help someone create great habits. Whereas if you hire someone that's already a sales expert, so to speak, or worked at a law firm, I don't care what they tell you in an interview. They want to run the show their way. They just do. They're going to tell you something different, but that's what they want.
That's a good point, because that was very much my experience, I have to say. Let me ask you about attitude. What kinds of things do you look for in somebody's attitude?
Yeah.
And how can you judge it? I don't think it's easy to do.
No, it's not easy, but you can tell when you're interviewing somebody. And what I suggest to kind of go along with that to help figure it out is you do a certain type of interviewing, and you make people jump through hoops. Can they do it? Can they jump through hoops? Can they sell themselves? Can they follow through? Can they follow directions and instructions? So, just for example, you give them 3 objectives. So you have to do these 3 things in order to get an interview with me. Okay, so that's the first thing. So number one, email me a Word document resume attachment. So in other words, I said Word document resume attachment. And the people that just put a link of their resume in there, you don't talk to because they didn't follow instructions. And so that would be one. Provide 3 references with contact information in the email. We won't call them until we talk to you first. If they don't, they only give you one, you don't talk to them. You're just starting to cut down the list. And then the next instruction is send 5-minute or less video of you selling me on why you're the right person for this new career. And that's where you find out about attitude. So first off, you find out technically if they can do it. Like if the video is upside down, you don't talk to them. Right? I mean, that's
Right.
seriously.
Right.
Some people will actually show up and give you a PowerPoint presentation. So you want those people. You want the people that do these 3 things. But you can tell, how do they feel about themselves? Did they dress up? Did they give you a big presentation? What did they say? Did they put some thought into it? And are they smiling? Are they using positive words? You can tell when you watch and listen to somebody giving a presentation if they're the right fit. And then the third step would be for them to provide 5 different examples of how they have the positive attitude with their professional life. They have to give real examples on how they did that. And if they do those 3 things exactly the way you're saying and don't cut any corners, then you meet with them. And then the video is perfect. Perfect for the phone, perfect for seeing if they smile. It's perfect.
I love that idea. I love it with videos. I used to do it asking for a cover letter, not a video. And I would be very specific about what I wanted them to include in the cover letter. And you're right. I can't tell you how many submissions I got that was just, a resume. Here's my resume for your concern. And it did make it easier because you're right. I didn't even look. I was like, no cover letter. Okay, no. And it, excuse me, it cut the list down very quickly. But I love the idea of the video because you're right. That's how you get to know someone without ever meeting them. That's what I teach my clients about when we're talking about marketing in their practice, same thing. That's how you get to know somebody. And you've never met face to face, but you can learn a lot about people when you look at their video. So that's, I think, a terrific example.
You can watch every detail. You can pause. You can just really take a hard look at it. You can put together maybe 3 or 5 really important questions that you want them to answer in the video. And how do they answer it? But the other thing you could do too is you could have some call recordings of yours, call recordings that you have, and let them listen to them and critique them. So you send them the call recordings and tell them during the video, I want you to play these 2 call recordings or this 1 call recording and critique it for me. Tell me what you liked about it and tell me what you would have done differently. And don't give them any hints. Now you're finding out what their instincts are. And you can find out again about their attitude.
Yeah. That's it's so important. And it's so important that people be willing, whether they may have come out of a law firm. And I didn't immediately discount people because they had legal experience, but I did find that for some people, it could be a difficult, I'm going to say, habit to break because they had a way that they did things, and coming to a new setting in a different law firm, they wanted to keep doing things the way the old firm had done it. Their old firm had done it, which may have worked very well for that law firm, but didn't work well for mine. And so, I ran into some conflicts with that because some people have difficulty giving up the old ways, or at least trying your way. See how that works. And then, and I always said, look, if you have suggestions after you've, done it the way we're going to teach you to do it, if you have suggestions that are going to make it better, that's terrific. We can talk about it, but you need to learn it our way first, and
Yeah,
then we can see where we go.
absolutely. But the other thing too is let's find somebody before you become desperate.
Yes.
You know, let's
Oh,
let's let's do it
what do
now.
you mean by that? Let's talk about that. Yes.
So desperate is like you're just in over your head. You know, you're trying to practice law and it's getting in the way. You can't even do what you love. The whole point that you started your own firm. I mean, you're doing sales and customer service and writing scripts. And now you're getting to the point where your marketing is really working and working very, very well. And you're sinking and you become really desperate. And what happens when you become desperate is you don't make the right decisions, you don't make the right choices, and you're just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. And then you're going to go ahead and make a decision to hire somebody that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that won't happen because it can still happen. But if you're desperate, nothing good comes out of anything.
Hmm. That's such a great point. That is such a great point because it's 100% true.
Hmm.
You mentioned scripts. Let's talk about
Yeah.
scripts because I at times get pushback from lawyers about using a script. So let's talk about what it is and why it's so important.
Hmm. Well, let's do this. So let's get these two S words out of the way. There's
Okay.
the S word script and the S word sales. So let's get those out of the way, but not completely because they exist. And if you have a business, a law firm, then you need to understand sales and scripts. You don't have to be aggressive or the stereotypical salesperson. You can sell with integrity, but you have to understand sales because it's your bottom line. Scripts, I don't want anybody to sound scripted, not at all. But it's a tool, it's a roadmap, it's a cheat sheet, it's an outline. And so it's a script. So might as well call it scripts. And you need a script is also like standard operating procedures. That's a script. Script is anything that you need, any manuals that you need, any cheat sheets on how to use your computer system. They're all scripts. They're just used for different reasons. So you need a sales script. And I have our 5-step relationship sales conversion script here that I'm gonna give you. And I'm gonna give it to you right now over the phone. And anybody can do it. And can I give it now, Sharon?
Oh, absolutely. Please.
I think
Yes.
everybody will be happy with this, but it's 5 steps. I am going to look down at my notes, and I'll also send it to you, Sharon, and you could send it to everybody. But
Yes.
the first step is to welcome everybody to your firm. So, welcome to ABC Law Firm. This is Chris speaking. How can I help you? And that's called the introduce step. Okay, so that's step number 1. And then you also are going to get their name. And so somebody calls and said they had a car accident. Welcome to ABC Law Firm. This is Chris speaking. How can I help you? I had a car accident. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Let me ask you some questions to see how I can help you. Would that be okay with you? Now, right now, that's step number 2, asking permission to ask questions.
Hmm.
And that's called the talk step. So number 1 is called introduce. Number 2 is called talk. So you're talking in step number 2, but you're asking permission to ask questions. Then also in step number 2, you're doing what we call singing and checking in. And singing means change the inflection in the tone as your voice as you speak and you ask questions so that you don't sound like license and registration. You don't
I
want that.
love it. I love it. Yes.
You
But
don't
you're
want
not
that.
actually singing because that could
Well,
be a problem.
it
I
depends
get
on how you're feeling on that day, but
that's true.
yeah, right. I hope you are singing. But so singing, and then also part of the talk step, it is asking your screening questions, which is also a script. I want you to create screening questions. You need screening questions for yourself. You need screening questions for your salespeople. You know, the top 4 questions, decide what they are for the different areas that you're in, and just put it together and put it in front of somebody to use. So you're also asking your screening questions in the talk step. And then the last thing that you're doing in the talk step is you're checking in. You're checking in with the person that you're speaking to as you ask your screening questions to humanize the conversation. And you can provide empathy. You can tell them that they're doing a great job answering your questions. You can do active
Mhm.
listening. So much happens in the talk step. And then after the talk step, you have step number 3, which is the acknowledgement step. This is where it's the CTA, the call to action, the conversion moment. This is where it all happens. Now, the prospective client is deciding in step number 2 if they like you, if they feel like they know you, if they feel like they can trust you. So if all those things work out great, then you'll likely be able to get them to agree to do business with you.
Mm-hmm.
But step number 3, all you're going to do is you're going to say, Mrs. Smith, based on what you said, this is a case that we can help you with. Or based on what you said, this is a case that we can't help you with. And then you're going to provide them with a resource. But it's important to say, based on what you said, because we're a team and we want Mrs. Smith to know you didn't just make this decision haphazardly. It's based on what you said.
Mm-hmm.
This is a case that we can help you with, or this is a case that we can't. Then step number 4 is called the confirm step with a K, because step number 5 is execute with an E, and now it spells intake. So it's a 5-step acronym, and I spelled it with a K, so it would be an acronym. So don't go correcting it. So number 4 is confirm. And what you want to do is before you hang up, just double confirm and verify all the contact information. And then step number 5 has a few different steps in it. It's like the Ritz-Carlton. It's the end of the conversation. It's the big red bow. It's where we get to say you made the right decision giving us a call. You're not alone, and you don't have to look any further. There's a couple of other technical steps in there, depending on the kind of prospective client you're speaking to. There's the verbal contract of the word promise. If you've ever listened to Dr. Robert Cialdini, The Art of Influence and Persuasion, Dr. Cialdini talks a lot about the word promise. And so promise could be used when somebody, maybe you need them to do something, or maybe they push back and they're not going to sign the contract on the spot, which is what I teach at One Call Close. But just say they don't do it. You want to get them to promise that, whether it's an hour or 2 hours later on, that they're going to send it back. There are definitely other steps beside that, but that's just a small example on how to use the word promise. People that promise to do something have a higher likelihood of doing it because they promised.
Wow, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Nobody wants to go back on their promise, right?
Right. Pinky promise, right?
Yeah, pinky promise. Sure.
Yeah. So those are the 5 steps. It's the 5-step sales conversion script. You can use it for inbound calls and for outbound calls. It's already put together for you. You just need to get the person hired.
That's great. All right. That's very generous of you, Chris, too, to make that
available.
Yes. So, and anybody that's listening, just send me an email, sharon@boldwomenlawyers.com. I'll put that up for a second. And I will be happy to send you Chris's incredible list for intake. So, Chris, tell me about, and I love those 5 steps. So you got these 5 steps. Let's talk about training and how you can train people and what you do in terms of training.
So the training that we do is private and customized. So you're not with a group of other law firms. It's just you and your firm. And the training is done via Zoom. And you get an evaluation consultation where we determine exactly what you need. For the most part right now, I'm doing the training. I have a couple of coaches that are doing different type training, but not the training necessary for the lawyers. I train lawyers as well as the team. And it's about conversion, sales, and communication, but it's all done via Zoom. And I'll tell you this, that one of the biggest things that you want to embrace when it comes to prospective clients and clients is the word empathy. Empathy is critically important, and I focus a lot on teaching that, not just sales, but empathy. If you don't have empathy, if you don't understand empathy, you're going to have a hard time converting people and retaining people so that they don't get buyer's remorse.
Yes. What is it about empathy you think that makes such a big difference?
Empathy is the emotional part of the whole human humanizing the conversation.
Mhm.
The way I look at it is you're not really in the legal business as much as you're in the relationship and healing business. That's the real business, relationships and healing.
Mhm.
Okay. You just
Mhm.
get there by way of the law. And so when people feel like they know, like, and trust you, they'll follow you into any battle. They'll trust you. They'll do exactly what you say. And you really need clients that are like that. You need clients that just follow everything that you say, and they don't become challenging clients or high maintenance kind of
Mhm.
clients.
Mhm.
And if you say to them, I'm going to call you, once a week for the first 2 weeks, and then once a month for the rest of the time that we're together, as long as you do what you say you're going to do, they'll be okay with that and they will trust you. But the empathy comes in when you first talk to them and they tell you their terrible story.
Yeah.
You've got to listen to what they say, do active listening, acknowledge it, and just tell them that you're so sorry to hear it. And you hate that they're in that situation, and you're really
Yeah.
glad that they called today. So write down 3 empathetic phrases, get comfortable using it. And I mean, empathy is really important, and there's a lot to teach with it, but just start practicing it now.
Yeah, that's such a good point too, because you're lawyers. You want to get to the point. Give me the facts.
Mm,
I mean, I remember I was a disability lawyer, and I'm like, I want to get to the part that I need to hear
mhm,
to figure out your case. But I also recognize through training, thank you very much, Chris,
yeah,
that I need it. You do need to step back and at first let the client tell you their story, just like you
mhm,
said, and actually pay attention to it
mhm,
because you get so much information out of that. Even though you're not directing the conversation at that point, you just get so much from them
mhm,
if you are listening and appropriately responding. To me, that's the empathy part. That
mhm,
when you do, they did have terrible stories, and you tell them, I'm really sorry. That
yeah,
must be very hard for you. That must be very
mhm,
hard for your family. So
mhm,
that you're acknowledging all the issues that they have.
mhm.
But in the hustle bustle of trying to run your
Right.
business, sometimes
Mhm.
it's easy to jump over that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well,
you definitely wanna pay attention to empathy and help build that relationship, and practice doing active listening. That will help you because that will help you stay focused on what was said.
yes. Because there's nothing worse than when I realized, and it happened, that the client was talking, I was not paying attention, I'm
Mhm,
multitasking, and then I realized as I focused back on what they were saying, I had missed some important
yeah,
information, and I
mhm,
have to ask them to repeat it. And
mhm.
you find ways to sort of massage that a little bit, but you're thinking, "Oh, gee,
Yeah, right,
I hope
yeah.
they didn't realize I wasn't paying any attention to what they were
Mhm.
saying,"
Yeah,
so that really personally helped me to stop that whole multitasking thing because I really needed to stay completely focused on what the client
yeah,
was saying.
yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
so tell us, about I'm gonna put up your website, the
Mhm.
Intake Academy. I spelled it right, didn't I? Yes, I did.
Yes, you
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Okay. I know you have the Intake Academy. Tell us
Mhm.
about that, what that's all about, and how people would get in touch with you.
Yeah, it's about sales training, relationship communications training, and empathy. It's about scripting, writing scripts, helping you create scripts. One of the other big things that we do is listen to your call recordings. We monitor them and listen to them and critique them and provide reviews for those calls so that your team knows all the great things that they're doing. Even if you only have one person, they know how great, they're doing with their calls, but they also know the opportunities that they need to focus on, for conversion and relationship building. So it's really a full service sales and communications business.
And I can't tell you, having been through it, and I can tell you that my team members were so reluctant. They
Mm,
didn't want to be recorded. They didn't want to hear it. They were afraid of the critiques.
yeah.
But we worked through that. And I can't tell you how invaluable that was because they learned oh, listen, you did this X 1, 2, 3, and that was great.
Yeah.
Now let's look at, and even many times, even before you would get to, now let's look at what we can improve on. They already knew
Yeah,
when
right.
they listened back. They're like, oh, I shouldn't have put it that, I shouldn't have said it that way.
Right.
I should say it this, but it makes a huge difference. As reluctant as we all are, you don't like to be critiqued, but it made a huge difference. It boosted their confidence so much. I can't say enough good things about the call recordings and the reviews, because they were invaluable to me and to my team to learn how to do the intake process and how for them to do it, because I needed to get it off my plate,
Mm-hmm.
how they could do intakes and be great at it. And they were
Yeah.
after they had the training. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is a challenging moment for team members, but they get through it. We do it. We're not like, we're very gingerly with them. We're in a teaching
Yes.
mindset,
Yes.
but let's not make the lawyer be the salesperson. Okay, everybody? Let's go ahead and get ready to hire your first salesperson.
Amen. Amen to that. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, you've been wonderful. This has been wonderful. And if people want to get in touch with you, we've given the Intake Academy website URL. Can they get in touch with you, through your website?
They can go to the website. They can also go to chris@intakeacademy.com.
Okay, let me put that up too. Okay.
I like your message here. You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you.
Is that what it says? Oh, I
That's
love
what
it.
it says.
I love it. Yes. Well, they're just reminding you on
Yeah,
the platform that we're
exactly. I
using.
like
Yes,
it. Yeah.
everybody can see you.
You can see
Okay,
it.
so Chris@intakeacademy.com, right?
That's right. That's right.
Terrific.
All
Terrific.
right.
Okay. Well, this has been wonderful. This is just so helpful to me and to my clients and to everybody that's listening. And again, if you want Chris's 5 steps for intake, what did you call it again? Give me the title, Chris. 5.
It's the 5-step relationship sales conversion script.
There you go. If you want a copy of that, just send me an email, Sharon@boldwomenlawyers.com. I will make sure that you get it. And Chris, thank you for being with us and sharing all of your knowledge.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.